everyone. This is your real estate investor, Elena Bartosh. Today, my podcast, as always, about real estate and about private money in real estate. And always, my goal is to bring the best people, the best guests who can bring you guys the best value to share their experience. And today, I'm extremely lucky because today my guest is my friend Wyatt Song. Wyatt lives and works in Australia, and he has experience investing in both countries. Hi, Wyatt.
Hi, Elena. How are you?
I'm wonderful. What about you?
Very good. This is morning in Sydney, Australia. So I just got up not long ago, all energized and looking forward to have this conversation with you. Thank you for inviting me
Awesome.
onto your podcast.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being my guest today. Yeah, it's so interesting. Earth is so big. You have your morning. I have my evening. Today is 6 p.m. Right now it's 6 p.m. in Boston.
And
It's
it's
cool.
8
It's cool.
a.m. in Australia. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, it's so
I'm one
interesting.
day ahead
So
of you.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you are in Sydney, right?
Yes, correct.
Cool. I've been in Australia 12 or 13 years ago. I've been in Brisbane, Gold Coast, Sydney. Wonderful country. Oh my gosh, wonderful
Yeah.
country. Absolutely.
How long have you stayed in Australia? Did you live here or was it travel?
I was traveling there. I was staying in Australia for 1 month.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, very good. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, you are a real estate investor. You have experience investing in both countries, in US and in Australia, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Amazing. Just amazing. I had already a couple people who invest in Europe, who invest in several different countries. It's so amazing how you guys do it. So tell us a little bit about who is Wyatt Song.
Yeah. Look, I come from a trade background a few years ago before I get into real estate investing. And at the time, I was working probably 60 hours a week. Every day was 2 to 3 hours drive to and from work. I run a team with people doing carpentry and building service for people. And so at the time, I thought that was sort of where I was going to make my retirement, pretty much helping other people making their money. But through doing that, we actually, like, I come across quite a few people and real estate investors making really handsome profit from actually the project that we help them to build. Things like a flipper, for example, like a very young couple, they've made millions, literally millions of dollars within very short amount of time by making a very high-end flip that we were part of. We've been part of other people's subdivision project where we help to build, like duplexes after they subdivided the land, and they literally make millions of dollars. And that's when I go, a light bulb moment, that there is definitely something else to this than just having, like working your ass off every day. And so then I started my real estate journey. I started looking into this area of real estate investing without any knowledge, prior experience. The first place I went is to start with some mentorship and join some community, looking into the various workshops that was running in Australia. And there have been a fair bit of them, and they're all very valuable in the beginning stages of my investing journey. In those times, I attended a lot of courses, thinking this might be it or that might be it, and suffering from this what you call the shiny object syndrome, so to speak, because
Yep.
every strategy it looks like a great strategy, and there's people making great money out of that strategy, and you go, if I had done that, I would have been made this or that amount of money. So you start looking into that strategy, and as you know yourself, there's like more than 30 or 40 different ways of making money from real estate. Whether you're a private investor, whether you're a money partner, or you're doing
Mhm.
fix and flip or fix and hold and co-living, or build or land acquisition. There's so many different ways. And so
Mhm.
we attended so many different seminars, and eventually it comes to a point where we'll go, "Oh, we have to start somewhere. We have to start somewhere." And it comes, actually, it was around COVID, a time around COVID, and I had a newborn as well. We go,
Mm.
like, we've done all this workshop, we've done all this learning, we still haven't got a deal. And that's when we start to go, yeah, we need to put our head down, do some work. We started picking our lane, which is fix and flip. And that was probably the easiest to come, because I have been in the building and trades. So, like, it's pretty much, I feel like, give me any project, I can, manage it quite easily. And that's where we started. But property acquisition has been a bit of an interesting journey as well. And we send out thousands of letters, and having all these conversations with potential uh, sellers. And eventually we found our deal, and we started from there. And fast forward to today, I've done many deals in Australia, as well as a couple of deals in the US. And now I'm working with other people, and sometimes helping them to start their real estate journey, and helping them to make money, or make that mindset shift to move into real estate. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, thank you so much, Riyad. And I know you have actually great experience not only investing in both countries, in US and Australia, you have experience as an investor and as a lender, as a private lender.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
And your main focus is fix and flip, right? So far.
Yes. Yes, so I have like two arms of the business, so to speak, and one arm is to looking at fix and flip project where they're profitable. Then we
Mm-hmm.
invest in the fix and flip, and at the moment I'm partnering up with other operators in fix and flip, and people who wanting to do fix and flip. So I'm taking, like, mentoring, or guiding them through, so I can inject my money as an investor, either that, or through other people's money, helping other investors to make money from fix and flip. That's, yeah, one arm. And the other arm is to invest in deals, uh, literally with people we may or may not even know. Could be a stranger, but like, if their deal stacks up, and if the people who is leading the deal stacks up, and
Mm-hmm.
we do the vetting on them, then there's a good potential that we invest in those deals. So, two side. One side is operating, and getting fix and flip done, that gives you a good chunk of cash. And then on
Mm-hmm.
the other side, we invest money as money partners, and funding other people's deals. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Very cool. And you have experience as a fix and flipper in US as well, right?
I have not personally fix and flip in the US, but at the deal that we invested as money partner, they're fix and flip
Mm-hmm.
deals. So we invest in the fix and flip deals. And that largely because I know the fix and flip world quite well. So investing in the
Mm-hmm.
US, the fix and flip, it's something that is in my alley, which I don't need to learn a whole lot new about. Everything is like
Mm-hmm.
familiar terms. You're talking very similar, numbers, and it's very easy for me to do the underwriting as well. Yeah.
Mm, very interesting. And just, I'm very curious, what is the difference between investing in US and in Australia, especially for fix and flip, for example?
Look, I think in terms of fix and flip, it's very, very similar. except for the property acquisition. I'd say that's slightly different. But on the bigger picture of fix and flip project, you're purchasing a rundown property, and then you add value to it through renovation, and then you sell it at a higher
Mhm,
price, and that's where you take your profit. These are
mhm.
all very similar. And you got to run your numbers, got to make sure your reno, like doesn't go over budget. Got to make sure there's enough profit margin. This is all similar. The
Mhm.
biggest difference I see is the acquisition strategy in the US. In the US, you guys have this what we call the wholesalers. So as a fixer
Oh,
flipper,
market.
yeah, it's a whole market of fixer flipper. Sorry, wholesalers, and as fixer flippers or other investors, you can just literally build relationship with wholesalers and directly getting your deal from them. Like if you
Mhm.
establish very good relationship with some good wholesaler, maybe 10 of them, they will send you deals from time to time. You can just literally focus on getting them fix and flip. Whereas in Australia, there is no wholesaler as such. You're pretty
At
much
all.
at all. I'd say very,
Why?
very little, probably. Yeah.
Why?
Oh,
Because of
yeah, that's
legal regulation?
sorry.
Why? Why you guys don't have wholesalers? Because legal regulation?
Yeah, so there's a different one is regulation. So the legal framework is slightly different in real estate transactions. So in Australia, the minute you place a property under contract, you are tied to the property. It's very
Mhm,
difficult to make an assignment contract, so you cannot
mm,
really assign it to somebody else. And even if you do, this assignment is not a standard kind of contract terms in a
mhm,
standard contract. Um, if you say you want to add assignment clause in a contract, you are acting in the capacity of a real estate professional in some ways. They will see you as you're conducting this as a business, and therefore you need your real estate license. So without real estate
mm,
license, you cannot be a wholesaler, so to speak. But there's a further complication to this than just the regulation. There's this tax implication. It's very expensive for you to even consider to assign this property. The
mhm,
minute you're getting it under contract, you're liable for paying for stamp duty, even if you later, on-sell it to somebody else. So there's all these tax implication, which erode the margin where the wholesaler could potentially get.
mhm,
So it makes
mm.
it financially not viable, not profitable to
Yeah.
be running this game of all securing property and then assign it to somebody else. Financially, it just doesn't make sense most of the time.
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm,
and therefore, um, there is not much like what you call like people even wanting to be a wholesaler as such. There's no such industry. If you talk about
mhm,
wholesalers, people go, "Huh? What is that?" But there is an industry of buyer's agent, which I guess you guys
mhm.
have buyer's agents as well, but slightly
Yep.
different role. In Australia, the buyer's agent, you can specify the type of property you want. You could potentially go, I want to get certain property where I can fix up, where after the rental I'll have like 10% margin on this deal as a profit. And then you ask them to search properties for you. But even that, most of the buyer's agent, they service the residential industry, where people wanting to buy their first home, buying the investment houses, um, serving developers and fix and flippers can be quite difficult in terms of finding the numbers, finding the properties where the numbers stack. And so for them, it's a harder piece of pie to eat. It's a harder work. Whereas if they deal with the residential purchases, the owner occupiers and people just wanting to buy investment property, it's much easier for them to find the property, and therefore there's not much people based on their business model to service only the fix and flippers as well as the the developers. There are some, but not many.
Mm. Yeah,
So the
now I
biggest
understand.
difference,
I know.
yeah. So
Yeah,
the
go
biggest
ahead.
difference when between Australia and the US, I think it's in property acquisition. So every fix and flipper or people who's trying to make money from rent or flip deals, they're doing their own property acquisition. And that property acquisition in itself, as you know, it's a full-time job pretty much. If you want to do it well, if you want to have enough deal flow, you have to have the process, the system, and consistently hustle out there to make that acquisition work. And like unless you have a team or you have like all the systems well set up, a lot of people struggle on in that phase. That's the biggest deterrent for people to actually get into the market, is because it takes such a long time for them to find the right deal, and people give up during that phase.
Yeah, yeah, it makes sense. It makes
Yeah,
sense. Interesting. Yep.
yeah.
So how particularly you work? What is your source of deals in Australia?
Yeah, so there is no exception, but you got to grind. For me, it's the same thing. Like
Mhm.
like that you got to have your foot in multiple areas in order to source your deals. So, your
Mhm.
off-market deals come from your letterbox drop mostly, and then from agent relationships. So you build relationship with real estate agent, and during that relationship, like they sometimes send you deals, potential deals to look at before the deal hits the market. But on a like a really hot market, on a rising market, you don't tend to get to the deals that fast, because the agent will know that once they place it on a market, there will be a frenzy,
Mhm.
people beating the property price very high, so they don't bother to hand it off to one person or a small group of people for an off-market deal. Only if they're desperate, for a quick sale to get rid of the property, they may. Um, so you've got your off-market strategy, you've got your on-market strategy, and there's a lot of networking as well. And you got to literally have as many people know that you're in the property game, and sometimes like it comes through the network and other people. They will come
Yep.
to you and they go, oh, I've seen you done this, can you help me to do this? So that comes with it, certain sorts of deal flow as well. And
Mhm.
and I must say, it's not simple. Definitely, it's not. Um, people who may think, oh, I just buy a house and flip them and make a profit. A lot of times they will get a shock when they don't, because their acquisition strategy is not there, and they buy the property. We all know that in this game, you got to buy your profit on the way in, on the acquisition. You buy it right, and then it carries through. Even if you make mistakes through your rental, or if you don't sell as high, but you buy your profit already.
Mhm.
Um, if you don't do that right, a lot of people I see, they make a mistake, and they get a big failure. Yeah, or a big lesson, big learning from that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, I like it. You just mentioned not failure, but lessons.
Oh, 100%. Everything in this game, it's
Yeah.
about learning. There is no such thing as really fail. Like every time if we made a mistake and that was a costly
Mhm.
mistake, for example, we will see
Yep.
it as, well, this is a learning for our next deal. This is a learning for our future
Mhm.
investing. And I'm so
Yep.
glad that we're making it now, not later, because on this
Yeah.
deal, it may cost us, thousands of dollars, but in the next deal, it may cost us millions of dollars. And therefore, it's better to make those mistakes now to avoid a bigger
Yep.
mistake and more costly mistake down the track. And so we always, like whatever obstacles or challenges that we come across, I'd say eventually it would all be distilled into a learning. What can you learn from this experience, and how
Mhm.
can you avoid this from happening in the future, and what can you adjust to make your process and your system even better, so you don't come across this, or if you do come across this, you can successfully deal with it in the future.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I agree with you. Just guys, to remind you, today my podcast, as always, as usual, about real estate and about private money in real estate. And today my guest, my friend Wyatt Song, he lives and works in Australia, and he has experience investing and working in both countries, in US and in Australia. Thank you so much, Wyatt, again for being my guest today. It's wonderful. It's very interesting how you share your experience. And I would love to switch a little bit towards private money topic
For sure.
and to talk a little bit how it works in Australia. Do you have this system and how people, what is the legal regulation or how people leverage it? Tell me please a little bit.
Yep, for sure. So my experience with private money and private money lending, as well as being a money partner, it's very similar. Like how you operate in the US versus how you operate
Mhm,
in Australia. Of course, there's like legal nuances that could be different, but the concept is very similar, and a lot of people are leveraging out of using what we call other people's money, OPM, to do their deals. Without using the OPM, if you only use your own capital, there's a ceiling very quickly. You're going to hit that, in terms of the number of deals, the size of deals. And so it calls for investors to actively looking for money partners and looking for investors that's willing to do private money, either lending or being an equity partner, being a private money partner to be in a deal. And so this is
mhm,
what we're commonly seeing, the two ways of getting your deal funded through private investor. One is debt funding it through borrowing money with a fixed return. And another way is to equity fund the deal through having a money partner who's injecting the fund or having the serviceability, taking out the loan, and then getting an equity share at the end of the
mhm,
project, profit, or there is a combination of both. So you can have like a hybrid mode. You're going to get your certain fixed percent interest, and at the end, you're also getting a small share of the profit. And so depending on the type of deals and the type of relationship you have with your investor, you can negotiate all kind of returns, all kind of setup and the structure. Now, in terms of security for your lending, it's also very similar to your US, because you have your first lien, second lien, and so on. In Australia, you also have this first mortgage, we call the first mortgage, second mortgage, or you can put caveats. The caveats is similar to a lien, but has less power, but it's a instrument to create a slight bit of protection on your deal. And so depending on the type of deal and the type of security offered, people normally underwrite the deal and then assess the risk of what type of security they're getting. And then they negotiate the return based on the level of risk they see. Obviously, the higher the risk and less the security, people want more return on their on the investment. And investors, a lot of money partners, they would have very strict lending criteria as well. Only on
yep.
certain type of deals I'm doing certain type of deals, on certain type of securities. Other deals I don't touch. So from that perspective, very similar. Whereas I do see that there's very I'd say I don't see enough education awareness, I'd say,
Mhm,
in terms of protecting your money and protecting your investment in a deal as a money partner. There is a
mhm,
lot of people talking about how to raise money, capital raise, how to, like sort
mhm,
of JV with people, how to find investors for your deal, and from that perspective, from operator's perspective, how to leverage on OPM. But on the flip side, when it comes to people jumping onto being a money partner, I think a lot of people can get into the arena without any prior experience or awareness of the risk, and they look at the deal, they think, wow, this seems to be really profitable. I'm going to make, 15%, 20% out of it. Wow, that's, so much better than my, bank saving. And people don't know what to look out for the risk in that deal, like how to underwrite it properly, or to vet the borrowers, as well as to look at the potential, like pitfall in the securities being offered, and people get in on the deal and not getting their money back. And so I think that, there could be a lot more education around that area.
Yeah, interesting. Thank you so much. Yeah, and I wanted to ask you about, do you guys have any federal programs, loan types that support investors? Like in US, we have DSCR loans or something like this. What kind of loans do you use
Yeah,
except
look,
private money?
no, we don't have something similar to that extent, but we do have some sort of government incentives to incentivize people in terms of investing in real estate. Well, not so much investing, but to purchase their house, because in Australia we're suffering this big shortage of housing, so that becomes a
Mhm.
pain point for a lot of people. And the average property, I'd say, in most major cities, over $1 million to purchase, and that's like
Wow.
for first home buyers. It's very expensive, and for a lot of young professionals, it could be like they need to save up a lot before they even get into buying their first property. So there's like I think the first homeowners grant, those sort of schemes, or like if people live in their property for more than a year as a owner occupier, there's a like sort of incentive on the capital gain tax. You get taxed on the tax rates, and so things like that. But I don't think there is uh, government incentive as to your DSCR loans. Yeah,
Mm. So it
yeah.
means every time you want to do fix and flip, you need or private money or you need take just a regular mortgage.
Correct. Yes, very
Yep.
similar. You either go get your normal, like, regular mortgage, or you go to, your that you got your first tier institution, lending institution, which is the big banks, major banks, and major mortgage brokers, and then you got your second tier players, some funds, private funds, and what you call, like,
Mhm.
you can go to hard money, hard money lenders,
Mhm.
and then for whatever gaps you may have, then you have to raise it through private money. Go to private money lenders, go to your like network, personal network, other
Mhm.
investors. So you have to raise capital. Yes.
So my next question to you was how you guys handle gaps, but I believe similar, just like here. For example, if you do fix and flip or if you do BRRRR, you have first lien loan from hard money of, for example, if you work with hard money, right, you definitely need gap loan to cover
Yes.
down
Yes.
payment, to cover closing costs,
Yes.
holding costs. Yeah. So
Absolutely. Yeah,
you
absolutely.
you you guys do the same. You do gap loans the same, second lien, like just like us, just like here.
100%, exactly the same. Where, you
Mhm.
get your hard money, or you get your mortgage, but you still have that 20% down payment. You still have
Mhm.
to, get your strategy cost and your holding and your stamp duty cost, and so there's a gap, or often than
Mhm.
not, there's always a gap, I'd say, and so you got to fund that gap through private money, private
Mhm.
lenders, or from your own savings. And that could be another deterrent, for another barrier for entry for a lot of fix and flippers, or for a lot of property investors. People haven't got that skill set to raise capital or to talk to money partners, and or maybe they
Mhm.
have like this mental block of, oh, I can actually go and ask money, and it's not shame, it's actually, you're helping another investor to, make their money work. You're making profit for somebody else as well as your own. So it's a collaboration, and people, when they don't switch that mindset, they feel like, oh, I'm borrowing money and it's hard, and it's, I don't have, like, people, why would people wanting to do that? So what I've learned over the
Mhm.
years, I think it's um, this property game and investing in property, it's much more a inner game. It's much more related to mindset than having all these external strategies and tactics and, the know-hows. You can attend so many
Yep.
different workshops and, learnings, but until you actually put your foot down, like start, taking the first step and, give it a go and start looking at the internals, what's actually holding you back. What is the mindset that is, what it actually it is, the block, your actual blockage that hold you stuck at where you are. um, it's very hard, and people can stuck for a long time. And I have
Yeah.
seen, a lot of people and investors, jumping from seminar to seminar, like I initially done, like for a long time, and haven't done a deal, or done all these learnings and trying to make everything perfect, got the perfect spreadsheet, got the perfect, deal analyzer, got perfect this and perfect that, but not doing actually a deal. And the only difference is, I
Mhm.
think mindset makes a big difference. How your internal world is really manifest into your success in on the outside. Yeah. What do you think?
I agree. I agree. I agree. We all, less or more, are struggling sometimes with some mental blockage in real estate, especially if something changed in your life, some personal, or, for example, business partnership breaks.
Yeah.
Yet people feel themselves out of their zone of comfort, or really something changed in your life, or if, for
All the
example,
time.
you were following some, yeah, you agree with me.
Yeah, all the time. There's so many moving parts in the deal. A lot of things can go wrong or go unexpected, and you got to deal with that. And you got to like problem solve on the spot. And it calls for a lot of resilience for you to actually do that. And so, being able to handle that, and how you see that when a problem arises, it all like sort of plays a part in eventual success of either a deal will come through, or the deal will fall apart.
Yeah, I agree. And actually, I was listening podcast from one lady a couple days ago, and she spoke actually about these mental blocks, and she taught people how to start doing action and how to find this block, because everyone has own block, and how to find. She said, block 20 minutes of your time, take piece of paper, take pen or pencil, and start just writing down. Ask yourself, I know I should do this step. Why I don't do it? What makes me a part of this step? What does not allow me? And keep asking you these questions, and write everything will come out from your brain. Everything. And she said, actually, the real reasons will start coming up from your mind in maybe 10, 15 minutes, not right away.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree. And this is when you ask layers and layers of whys, you start to peel
Mhm.
back that onion, like one layer by layer, eventually you get to the core of things. But the biggest challenge for people, I think, for a lot of people in getting to that core is
Mhm.
willingness to be totally 100% honest with yourself and with the answers. And
I
I see
agree.
a lot of people can stay on the surface. Oh, I'm not doing it because of this or because of that. It's external source again. Oh, it's because of something else. Someone else didn't make this happen. And so being able to fully take an honest look and within and start facing some of the demons. What are you actually afraid of? Like what you like fear of making a mistake, and what would that making a mistake mean to you? Does it make you look bad, or does it make you feel like you're less worthy? Does it make you feel like less valuable? And like it does it. There's all these different layers, but sometimes people stop at you know at the top level on that surface, and
Mhm.
because going further down will be quite painful, when you're really strip apart all these outside
Yep.
distractions. It can be quite painful to actually face what you need to face, because when you do face that, you can just like be really unstoppable after that. But people are afraid to actually looking at it, and
Yeah.
avoiding is easier for a lot of times for a lot of people. Avoiding the problem and just not looking at it and finding an excuse and just keeping busy, finding another activity. Oh, I'm so busy. Oh, I've been doing this, I'm so busy,
Mhm.
therefore I'm okay. But in realities, they haven't really moved the needle into actually getting the most needed work done. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. I agree. Yeah. So what do you do personally to get rid of, I don't know, fear or this procrastination if you feel you are in stagnation? What is your method? What is your medication?
Yeah, look, I try my best to take time for myself, and I think that's very important. We can be so busy, and when they steals on, like you're just running from one end to another. So many things happening in the day, but you have to take really some time for yourself, and that during that downtime, where I allocate for myself, usually in the evenings, I reflect, and that sort of reflection and introspection is, I find that very useful for me to get closer to my internal world and to understand myself. And I must say, I've been very lucky in the sense of, um, I've done a lot of this mindset work in my previous years,
Mhm.
where um, back in, I'd say, almost a decade ago, I did this big challenge for myself, which is the Mount Everest at the time. My Mount Everest was to swim across the English Channel, and that took 16 hours of like solo swimming in the ocean, in the open ocean, without
Wow.
external assistance. And that training for that crossing had given me a lot of mental resilience and given me a valuable lesson into looking
Mhm.
at how I work internally and how I deal with things. And so, with that kind of experience, I think I got to know myself a lot better when the things that doesn't go wrong, doesn't go according to plan. I start to draw that focus back in and focus on one stroke at a time, one step at a time, putting my one foot in front of
Mhm.
another. And this is, I'd say, uh, where I have, I guess, grow uh, quite a big time when I set a huge task in front of myself. And so I can bring that into real estate and property investing when things doesn't go right, when things do go wrong, surprises. Um, I often have that um, mental resilience, I'd say, to continue see it through. Yeah, and not to panic.
Thank you so much, Yat. I love the way where we went with our conversation, because real estate is great. Making money is wonderful, but if we really, if we have some any kind of mental issues, we have some block, and we don't recognize we don't understand ourselves, we cannot read ourselves, it can cause really problems, because everything around mindset, just like you mentioned, everything
One,
mindset. I agree.
yes, all of our result that we achieve externally in real estate or in other aspect of life, in my opinion, is all the manifestation of our inner world. So how well we cultivate our inner world and how well we fertilize our own
Mhm.
tree, it determines what kind of fruit we're going to grow on our tree and what kind of reward we're going to reap, you know. So
Yeah,
I think that inner work, it's a big part, if not 80%, 90% part of this. Whereas most people I see, they, if they don't do the inner work and just chasing for that external result, um, can, you know, find themselves in hot water a lot of times. Yeah.
yeah, I agree. Thank you so much. Guys, if you're right now with us, just wanted to remind you today my podcast is about real estate and private money in real estate. And today my guest, wonderful guy, Wyatt Song. Wyatt is my friend. He works and lives in Australia and he has experience working, investing in both countries, in US and Australia. And he has experience as a lender and investor himself. So he has various experience, and I'm going to put Viat's Facebook link under this podcast. So if you feel you want to speak with Viat, please feel free to reach out to him and link under this podcast. And probably we have couple minutes left. If you have any questions, please put them into chat. Yeah, thank you so much for all your time, for all your knowledge, for all your wisdom. It was really, really cool. 42 minutes of podcast. Thank
Look,
you
Elena,
so
I
much.
really, yeah, look, I really appreciate you doing this. I appreciate you putting yourself out there, creating this podcast, creating this platform for people to voice, you know, their wisdom and they share their experience. And I really appreciate that you inviting me as a guest onto your podcast, giving me this opportunity to share my experience. And I must say, like when I like see what you do, I see you as an inspiration. I'm like, wow, you know, Elena's out there this week. Elena's
Thank
out
you.
there, you know, she's doing her hustle, you know, she's doing her grinding and she's putting herself out there, you know, regardless, like sun, rain, or wind, you know, you're always out there, which is really good to see. You know, that's a big inspiration for a lot of people. So I appreciate that.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah, and I see actually you are more and more active in social media. I saw you post, well, let's say almost daily, and some mindset, some business post. Yeah, great. Yeah, I like it so much. Okay,
Thank you.
and as a conclusion, as we started speaking about mindset as a conclusion, could you please give some maybe advice for people who are struggling with some procrastination right now? What we should do?
Well, in terms of overcoming procrastination, I say the best medicine will be action, taking actions. As funny as it sounds, you know, people are afraid of taking that action, but the minute that you take that first step, you know, the road will appear in front of you. You don't need to wait for the fog to clear in front
Mhm.
of you. You don't need to see the entire journey. You don't need to see what's on the other side of the mountain before you take that first step, because once you take that first step and the second step will follow and the third and fourth, and you can learn from the feedback of your, you know, your journey, whatever, you know, obstacles you're stepping on. Always remember there is a solution to everything. There's a solution to anything that you can find. It may not be a solution immediately visible, it may not be a solution that you want to see, but there is a solution. And if you keep that in mind, you know, it makes it so much easier to take that first step. Yeah. So,
I
and
agree.
yeah, and there's so many things, I guess, around mindset. We can just talk for hours, but I think, you know, with people's procrastination and sitting on the fence and not taking that first step, I'd say, you know, just whatever you got to do, sort of pick up the phone to call the first, you know, agent, or to find your buyers, or whatever it may be. Take that first step. Yeah.
At least one. Yeah, I agree with you. Thank you so much, Fiat. Thank you so much again for being my guest. It was very, very, very good podcast about
I really
everything,
appreciate.
about business. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I really appreciate your time, Alina, and I hope one day we can have another conversation down the track and share more experience.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Sounds like a plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, enjoy your day in Australia and say hello to kangaroo and koala.
Thank you. I will.
Yeah. Bye bye, Wyatt. Bye. Guys, thank you so much for being today with us. It was great podcast. I love speaking with Wyatt. He's always kind. He's always knowledgeable. And please don't forget, you can get his podcast link after this video. Please feel contact Wyatt if you feel you want to speak with him. And if you are a private money lender or if you are considering to start investing in real estate, please reach out to me. I'm an investor myself as well, and I'm always happy to extend my network with private lenders for the future business. And thank you again, everyone. I wish everyone great business and enjoy your rest of your day. Bye-bye.